what is a 3D printed house?
So a 3D printed house is a way of building that starts with digital architectural files, converts them to machine instructions, and then very large construction scale robots deposit specific materials to build up a home layer by layer. And it's, in the end, much faster, delivers it more affordably and with like unlimited design freedom.
How do you come up with an idea like that?
So I've been working in and around housing almost since I graduated university. My first paying job out of university was a programs director at a homeless shelter, and then worked in sustainable building for a while, and then ran a sustainable building products and services company for the better part of a decade here in Austin. But eventually realized that continuing to do things the same way was going to continue to deliver similar results to the ones we're experiencing right now, which is we don't have enough houses, they're not affordable enough, they're not sustainable enough, they're not resilient enough. And so we needed to find a way to deliver houses that do for us what we need them to do. And so I looked at everything, and ultimately, the thing that was most promising was robotic construction, right? Construction is very manual and labor intensive still. And I thought that the promises of automation and digitization, what they had done for every other industry, that those promises could be brought to bear on the construction industry. And 3D printing was just the most powerful automation to start with, because it creates the form of a home and replaces a number of trades all at once. So that's how we got here.
The video is really cool to look at as the houses come to be. What is the process? Take me through step one to completion, how you build a 3D printed house.
Yeah, and so first, you have to design for 3D printers. It really does start with the architecture and the design. If we just take a normal house and say, hey, can you print this? We can, but you won't achieve all of the savings and benefits of 3D printing. So you have to optimize the architecture. And then the way we do it today is we do a pretty traditional site preparation. So you pour a slab or a pier and beam. We need a flat level platform. And then we print the entire wall system. And by wall system, what we're replacing with our automation is framing, interior finishing surface, exterior finishing surface. You don't necessarily even need to paint it. We do plumbing, electrical, or rough ends are delivered with the wall system. So you're replacing 5 or 6 trades with a single automation. And then you do pretty traditional fit and finish. And so that's how the house gets delivered today.
You mentioned some of the benefits before, but when someone gets a 3D printed house, what are they going for? What are the benefits associated with it?
So the primary benefits of 3D printed houses are multiple. And there are other approaches to building that can deliver 1 or 2 of these things, but only 3D printing, to my knowledge, does all of these things all at once. If I could think of a better way, that's what we would be doing. Number one, it is faster because it's a machine that can run 24 hours a day. It doesn't need to take breaks. It's very quiet in its operation, so you can print around the clock with regard to noise ordinances. And then plus it's just an automated process. So it's faster by simplifying the labor, but also simplifying the supply chain. It also becomes more affordable. These houses are delivered at lower cost. You have unlimited design freedom. So a lot of other approaches to reducing costs or increasing speed constrict design choices. They sort of prefabricated. It's very scalable because it's robotics. You can just manufacture more robots, which we are doing now. It's a higher performing house. So often to get something faster and cheaper, you have to reduce its quality. In this case, you're actually getting an improved quality, improved comfort, improved energy efficiency. And then finally, it's much more sustainable, both because of the long life expected of 3D printed concrete, but also construction waste is a huge sustainability issue. With 3D printing, you get what you need to the drop and then you stop. And that's cool, not just because it rhymes, but because construction waste is a huge problem. It's actually the #1 contributor to landfill waste in America. And so when you combine all of those things together, it's just a very exciting, compelling, and powerful new way forward.
And we've talked about the commercial homes that you've built, but you have a lot of other projects going. Can you talk about some of those?
Correct. So the recently announced Lennar project is like a mainstream housing project here in the Central Texas area. But most of our work today has actually been social housing. So we've done the world's first 3D printed community down in Mexico with a nonprofit called New Story, who's dedicated to providing dignified housing to people in developing world contexts. We've done a multi-house social housing project here in Austin, Texas with a wonderful nonprofit here called Community First Village that provides housing and community to people who have been experiencing chronic homelessness in the Austin, Texas area. And so the thing to maybe understand is like, whether it's a starter house or a social housing project, all the way up to the craziest high-end custom house you can even imagine, 3D printing is truly a revolution. It's not a niche kind of product. It's an entirely new way of delivering houses at every price point in a more compelling way.
Well, and that leads me to my next question. What is that range? Because like you said, you can go small or scale it up as big as you want.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a lot of variables. So it depends on the size of the house. A smaller house is cheaper than a big house. And an open floor plan is cheaper than a complex, intricate floor plan. What we're kind of seeing today is everything from like, if you want to go crazy, you can actually spend more money on a 3D printed house. But if you really optimize for 3D printing and you push the boundaries very hard, we're seeing, depending on the design of the house, between 10 and 30% savings versus conventional construction.
Gotcha. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys built your first house in Austin in 2018?
Correct. The first permitted 3D printed house in America was here in East Austin. Yeah, and that was in 2018. What
is it like to see this company, this idea grow in the way it has and have an impact in the way it has?
Yeah, the future is faster than you think. Sort of nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come, and it's very clear that the world is hungry for a better way to deliver housing. And I try to just show up as my best self every day and to be worthy of this opportunity, because we're trying to put this technology in service to humanity, right? To both solve some of our most profound problems, but also open up some of our grandest opportunities.
It just seems like when you talk about the durability of it, I grew up in Oregon, and I made a rule early on that I would never live in Texas or Florida, because in my mind, you have to build a new house every 5 years because they just don't sustain against the severe weather.
Correct.
So looking at what you guys are doing, it seems like a no-brainer, but just no one had the brain to come up with it before.
No, I don't know about that. We're excited to have the opportunity to try to do better than we've done in the past. That one specifically is very personal for me. I grew up on the Texas Gulf Coast. My childhood home is gone. My family has spent Christmas in a FEMA trailer. We kept rebuilding with stick frame houses, and then the hurricanes and tropical storms would come again, and it was sort of like the doom loop. And it's like, we've got to quit doing this if we want to have a better outcome. And it really has like devastated a lot of the smaller coastal communities in Texas, kind of like took the vitality right out of them. And so this kind of building method that is inherently resilient to hurricanes, wind, fire, termite, you sort of know it's just inherently a resilient material, creates really positive new opportunities for us to readdress the way that we're delivering houses in these kinds of areas.